Hello and welcome to the Penalty Box Perspective podcast. My name's Nathaniel and I'm joined yet again by my good friend Matt. How are you this morning?
Yeah, very good, thank you. Yeah, all good. Just busy. The period in the run-up to the Christmas period is always just absolutely insane. It feels like I don't have a second at the moment, but I'll always set aside the time to talk with you.
The grind, as we call it, both work, personal lives, obviously hockey season, full flow, and I mean, I am absolutely ecstatic this week, let me tell you. There's a piece of hockey news that we might want to talk about. I don't know if you know what happened this week, mate, but I think one team just got a hell of a lot better.
Well, that's what we're going to discuss. Did they get better? Yeah.
Did they get better?
They got better. Big time. Yeah, I look forward to speaking about it, mate. Look forward to speaking about it.
Yeah, I can't bloody wait. Let's get on with it. We are going to start in the Central Division. We like to call it the best division in hockey. I think that's because the best three teams in the league are all in this same division. But the first of these teams are indeed the Colorado Avalanche, still leading the pack, 53 points. They played 3 games this week. They won 2 and lost a shootout. So, I mean, business as usual, really, for Colorado.
Yep, picking up 5 points in 6 games. McKinnon with another 6 points in 3 games. Natchez with another 4 points in the 3 games. You've had Makar, Malinsky, Burns, Manson, Gerard, all at a point per game. All at a point per game during that period of time. Wedgwood and Blackwood doing what they do, over 900 save percentage in all the games. Colorado have a plus 54 on the season in their goal differential. They've still only lost 2 regulation games. I've seen a few people online kind of getting like Colorado Avalanche fatigue. That's just pathetic for me. Like people are like, oh God, like it's so boring watching the Colorado Avalanche just win game after game. It's like, what do you want?
It's not even half a season.
What do you want? Like I feel like those are the kind of people, especially on social media, that they will just never be happy. I
feel for those people.
Yeah, what a bleak existence that must be. Another quality week for Colorado. They go on like a little bit of a flip-flop now. They go on the road to the Kraken, home to the Jets, on the road to the Wild, home to the Mammoth, on the road to the Golden Knights. So, again, say it week after week, I don't see a team that this Colorado Avalanche side can't just kind of blow to pieces. So, they're just doing what they do.
Absolutely. One thing to note, when we're covering these upcoming schedules for these teams, we're anticipating a bit of a break over the Christmas period due to our shifts and also spending time with our families, etc. So we're going to be previewing, I guess, more games than usual, and there might be a delay in the next recap podcast. But obviously, we'll see. We haven't got exact date penned out, but yeah, I think the Colorado Avalanche are a steamroller. I'm certainly not fatigued by them. It is frustrating that they're in the division with the Wild and the Blackhawks, but yeah, you sometimes can't determine that. But yeah, I'm enjoying their performances, and it is great to see. It's not Florida for a change.
No, for sure.
Right, so the second team, both in the power rankings in this division and in the league itself, is the Dallas Stars. Now, they're only 4 points behind Colorado, believe it or not, on 49 points, with a record of 22, 7, and 5, plus 25, plus minus. So they played 4 games this week, an away game against the Jets, away game against the Wild, and then home games against the Panthers and the Kings. And they split it 2 wins, 2 losses. Are there any of these results that really stood out for you?
The 4-0 loss to the Panthers, of course, was was a surprising one for sure. But they've been involved in some really entertaining games. This week just gone, the game against the Jets was really exciting. The game against the Wild, of course, was brilliant as well. But yeah, I was a bit surprised by by that 4-0 loss to the Panthers. We all see guys have those nights where they're just not quite at the races, and that's definitely one of those for them.
Yeah. I mean, they are still a great team. There's no getting around that. But they are, as opposed to Colorado, who are sort of steamrolling and a train. Like, I do feel like Dallas have the capacity to be a bit more up and down. That's a tough schedule this week. Jets, Wild, Panthers, and Kings. There's no easy game in there. So, I mean, they're doing all right. They've got a great goalkeeper tandem. The players are playing well. Rantanen and Johnston both came in with a goal and 4 assists in the 4 games, and that's including being shut out. So technically, I guess that's in 3 games. But yeah,
I mean, just a
week.
point of note as well that I know they've pulled it back to within 4 points of the Avalanche. However, the Avalanche do have 2 games in hand over them. So they could well stretch that back out to 8 points, but we'll just we'll see what happens. But they're another team with a sort of flip-flopping schedule coming up. They've just come off of 2 games at home. They then go on the road to face the Sharks and the Ducks before returning home to face the Maple Leafs, on the road to the Red Wings, and then at home to the Blackhawks on the 27th of December. So yeah. It's again, they are like the de facto second best team in the league this year, but still just having an absolute juggernaut season.
Yeah. I think it's worth noting as well that the sort of top line with Rantanen and Johnston, etc., they're both at over a point a game, but minuses on a plus minus. So that's just something to be noted there, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, it's always always kind of interesting to see these sort of little stats between the lines.
Read between the lines. Right, let's do it. Let's talk trades. Minnesota Wild, 3rd place in this division, won every single game this week. Fantastic. 43 points. I am buzzing. So if you live under a rock or you truly don't keep up with hockey news for whatever reason, the Wild have made an absolute blockbuster traded for Quinn Hughes, probably the 2nd best defenseman, arguably, in the entire league.
I'd say without doubt.
Yeah. Obviously, performances this year for the Canucks haven't been probably the 2nd best Scott defenseman in the league, but I think arguably he's a recent Norris Trophy winner. It isn't Norris, in it.
Yeah, that's right.
Sometimes
yeah.
Oh, nailed it. We obviously had to give up quite a bit to get this kind of player, and he's signed for a contract for the rest of this year and next year, and questions are raised about whether he's going to sign a new one, but blockbuster trade, Matt.
Yeah, and something that really came out of thin air. I mean, we've discussed the Hughes trade sort of at length, and I know it's been sort of the big topic the last few weeks in the hockey media space. And the first I think I heard of Minnesota's name being remotely in the conversation was Elliot Friedman's tweet saying Hughes is being traded to Minnesota. I actually had to check. I had to actually kind of go directly into that account to make sure that was Elliot Friedman and not someone like just trolling people on Twitter with like a verified
Elliot Friedman or something.
Friedman, yeah. But I couldn't believe it. I was absolutely floored. Now look, yeah, it was a big give up, wasn't it? It's ultimately ended up kind of being 4 first-round picks, hasn't it? In Rossi, Boyum, Ogren, first-round pick. But like we said when we spoke about the trade market and the potential decision of Hughes being on the block, these types of guys are almost never available. And if you've got the resources to try and make something like that happen and, blow the doors of contention well and truly open for your team, I think that's a deal you've got to make. I mean, I think a lot of people like Zeev Boyum, but I don't think he's necessarily fully realised into what he is as of yet. Marco Rossi, again, I know is a player you love. I also really like Marco Rossi as a player, but someone who, in the last 18 months, despite his, for me, undeniable quality, has struggled to make an impact up and down the lineup. And Liam Ogren's Liam Ogren. Like, he's been okay, but has been far from definitive. And then, plus a first-round pick. So, actually, I think for me, I think Minnesota have come away with, a really decent return. For that. I think it benefits Vancouver in terms of not needing them to go into a full rebuild. I think Minnesota get the absolute quality piece that they need, and I don't think they cripple or damage their starting lineup too much in the process of doing so.
Yeah. Well, you heard the news before I did. I woke up to texts from you going, "Oh my god, oh my god, oh my god,"
10 of them,
and I had no idea what was happening. And then I checked, and I'll admit, my immediate reaction was, "Oh, okay." Now, I think that's predominantly from the fact that literally the day before I had a Marco Rossi Minnesota Wild jersey delivered to my door, and I was proudly wearing it all that night. Took it off to go to bed and woke up, and all of a sudden he's not on the team anymore.
Yeah,
No,
man,
I
honestly, our combined luck with jerseys this year has been horrible.
Horrible.
Bless you. Yeah, that is that sucks. But you know what? Can never take away from being one of your favourite players, man.
No, and absolutely, it made me a bit more of a fan of Vancouver, but I got over that. He was my favourite player, but he can still be my favourite player, just on a different team. Now, when it comes to the trade itself, I mean, you've touched on a bit of the bases, but the first round pick, especially the one that you give up after signing Quinn Hughes and after how Minnesota are performing recently, is going to be almost a second round pick, or at least I'd hope so. So you're not going to get one of those top elite prospects. You're going to get a boom or bust kind of guy.
Yeah.
At that point in the draft. No guarantee that you're going to get any player of sustainable NHL quality. And you got Liam Ogren, who has struggled, has played a bit on the third line at times, mostly on the fourth line, and has not really done much for Minnesota. And I think that's because we're not tending to rely on rookies as much, potentially. But again, he's not really standing out. So for me, that's a fair pick. I'm happy with Ogren going. Boyum was one I was a bit gutted for, because we also traded to get him, essentially. And he's obviously already a player who's doing well, and he has got great potential. But when you look at it like this, we want Zeev Boyum to be like Quinn Hughes. So if we give up Boyum to get Quinn Hughes, then we've kind of just accelerated that process, haven't we? For me.
Yeah.
Will Boyum be better than Quinn Hughes? We don't know. I mean, if he's going to be better than Quinn Hughes, he's going to become the top two defensemen in the league. So it's kind of like, yeah, you can't. Why are we swapping out potential for what the actual realised quality? So again, I felt a bit better about the Boyum leaving. The issue for me with Rossi, not only is he obviously my favourite player, but we're a team that are struggling with injuries in our top six, especially with centre depth. We've got Eriksson Ek. Thankfully, Danilo Yorov has actually stepped up. But again, I think he scored his fourth goal in however many games, so he's not
prolific, is he?
It's not prolific, but he has stepped up a bit. And obviously we've got Ryan Hartman and centre, and Nico Sturm's come back and stuff like that. But we are now we were already sort of weak in the top six forwards, and now we've got even weaker. So that is the glaring obvious, and I think that's where we talk about players like Nazem Kadri or Ryan O'Reilly, if we might go after one of those players. But in terms of the trade, I am happy. I've come round a bit, and especially after watching Quinn Hughes play, undeniable talent. The way he's just stepped in and immediately cracked on, great,
Yeah,
absolutely fantastic. And now all my prayers and hopes go into that this isn't just a year and a half of Quinn Hughes, and if he hopefully signs a new contract, or if we do have to trade him away again, then we get something back.
yeah. And look, again, I made the point when we were doing our trade talk that I know that a lot of people are going, oh, there's no word of any sort of extension being mentioned for Quinn Hughes in this trade to Minnesota. Now, if we're talking officially, and I'm air quoting when I say this, officially Quinn Hughes can't negotiate any sort of new contract with Minnesota until the summer. And any suggestion that he would be doing otherwise would be kind of a breach of what the players are allowed to do. So why would they put into the public space at this point, oh yeah, we've had like official chats with him about like his new contract and he's going to sign for X amount of dollars for X amount of years? Don't get me wrong. I think there has absolutely been a conversation had with Quinn Hughes where they've said, look, here's the deal. We're giving up an awful lot for you, but we want the reassurance that you're going to sign here long term. And presumably he's gone, yeah, okay. That works for me. And he'll have been, sold the project. But I think I would be stunned if Minnesota have given up what they've given up for a 18-month rental. That would surprise me big time.
So what do you get for Quinn Hughes this time next year if he isn't going to sign? That would be the question I would raise. Like,
I reckon you get Liam Ogren, a first-round pick, and half of Zeev Boyum.
It's a big all-in this year, isn't it?
Yeah.
Anyway, we're going to be talking about this in more depth later on this week, to be confirmed. But in terms of just how the week's gone for Minnesota Wild, on the ice, it can't have gone much better. 4 wins, beat the Kraken, Stars, Senators, and Bruins. Pretty clear victories in all of them for me personally. Even though Senators were close at 3-2, I think we had control of that game. Eriksson, Ek, Johansson, Boldy, Kaprizov, Hartman, Spurgeon, all at points per game. Gustafsson and Wallstead again, smashing it. Like, honestly, I'm considering where we were with the Wild, like about a month ago, where I was pulling my hair out thinking Hines needs to go and all this other stuff, and now this is where we are. It just goes how things can change and never rule out a team going through a rough patch.
Yeah, no, for sure. Been really impressive from Minnesota. I think as well. I think the general sort of overall morale boost of the team of bringing in someone like Quinn Hughes is massive, and I think it will give everyone a boost around them. And I think he's the kind of guy who'll come into a room and elevate the performing players around him. But they've been great. They are kind of well inserted into that playoff conversation now. And I think over the sort of festive period, I can just see some more victories coming their way. Just one thing that I wanted to double check with yourself as a Minnesota fan. I saw a post on social media the other day of like the best nicknames in hockey. And there was, Showtime for Patrick Kane, Sid the Kid, Breadman for Panarin, etc. And then I saw the Wall of St. Paul. For Jesper Wallstedt. Is this something within the Minnesota space that is used quite regularly? Because that is like my first exposure to that whatsoever.
Yeah, obviously it's developed this year with his performances stepped out. It's not one that's been used prior to all of his shutouts, but yeah, absolutely, that is something that has been brought up, and I think it's fantastic. I mean, there's been quite a few Quinnesotas come out now,
Yeah, yeah,
which
we're there. No, that makes complete sense. Yeah, I just never heard it before. I saw it, I was like, love that. That is a great nickname, but and very
yeah,
deserved for Wallstedt with his performances this year. No, interesting,
yeah.
interesting. As much as I'm sure we could talk about Minnesota for all day and all time, shall we move to the next?
Oh, thank you for noticing. Yeah, yeah. We'll move into fourth place. Okay, let's do it. Let's talk about some of these other teams. Right. Fourth place in this division, 8 points behind Minnesota, Quinnesota, are the Utah Mammoth. Okay, 35 points, record of 16, 5, and 3. Another team who's played 4 games this week. They started out with 2 losses against the Kings and Panthers at home before beating the Kraken 5-3. And then winning, I think they came back in this game as well to beat the Penguins in overtime 5-4.
That's right.
So, bit of a middling week for Utah. Again, when you got the top 3 teams winning game after game after game, they need to obviously keep trying to push forward. But I think there is a step down in quality at this point.
Yeah, 100%. And I think we are looking in a position where it's going to be teams kind of battling out for the wildcard spots, certainly within this division. But yeah, a similar week to Utah as to what we've seen sort of all season. They're a very, very up and down team. They find a way of being in all the games. Then they rarely get sort of blown out, which again is sort of been a consistent point over the course of the season. But they're finding a way to sort of hang tough with everyone else. Shout out to Dylan Gunther on the week. 5 goals in those 4 games, including just an absolutely terrific goal against Pittsburgh. Don't know if you saw it, but completed the comeback victory for them. And in overtime, as he, has such a knack for doing, he's such a sort of game time, clutch time player. It was just an absolutely glorious snipe. Great goal from Gunther.
Great player, underrated player, I think, Dylan Gunther. There's a lot of players who are kind of underrated, but actually maybe probably fairly rated. But you know what I mean? They're no slouches of this team, and I think they're sort of in prime position to fight for a wild card spot at the very least. I think.
Yeah, that's a really good
Yeah.
point actually. As well as I think that you look down, you look down the list of some of these guys, and I think there are a lot of, I think you look at Clayton Keller, Gunther. I think Nick Schmaltz to a lesser extent, but still sort of within the point. Paterka as well. Even Cooley. Obviously, devastating news on Cooley's leg injury.
Yeah.
But sorry, just going back to
And for my fantasy team.
Yeah.
Sorry.
They seem to have a lot of players who are really, really good, but we just don't really talk about them. I don't know if that's just the hangover from them being in Arizona, which was obviously such a sort of cursed organization that people just didn't want to talk about them. But yeah, no, that's an interesting point.
Yeah. One thing that they need to improve on, I think, the next big move needs to be the goaltenders. Vizmelka isn't cutting it for me. I don't think, but yeah, I think that can be said for quite a few teams. Isn't it?
Completely agree. Yeah. Vermelka's been poor this year.
Just not enough goalkeepers to go around.
No.
Speaking of teams with goaltenders that are great and needing them to play, it's the 5th team in this division, the Winnipeg Jets, up a spot, 32 points. 15-2 on the year. But this epitomises the point of goaltenders. They started off the week against the Stars and the Bruins, lost both those games. Comrie in goal with a 700 save percentage. But then they get Connor Hellebuck back, and then they beat the Capitals 5-1. Now, they did lose in overtime to the Senators 3-2, but Hellebuck again posting a plus 900 save percentage. So, I mean, I know it's a very simplistic view of it, but have a world-class goalkeeper and you tend to perform better.
Yeah, who'd have thought, right? Who'd have thought that the team getting back their Hart Trophy winning player would improve. But yeah, look, they're having a bit of a rough go of it at the moment. Winnipeg, they're kind of struggling through, and I think a lot of that and a lot of the momentum lost, I think, was due to the sort of the morale blow of losing someone like Hellebuck, especially sort of so early in the season. And we've been saying kind of week after week that this is a team really seeing and feeling the effects of that as they kind of slipped into a bit more obscurity sort of each week and kind of slipping away from relevance. They're in a position where, they've picked up 3 points from the 4 available. I'm kind of hoping this starts to lead into something a bit more convincing for them. But undeniably so, Connor Hellebuck back in the lineup, back with the big performances. And yeah, hopefully, in a position to try and drive Winnipeg up this division as much as they can, because they will be a team very much with an eye on the playoffs, and I think they'd be extremely disappointed to miss out.
Yeah, I mean, we have them ranked 4th in our power rankings, obviously before the issues that they've had in this past several weeks. But I think they're a better team than Utah. They are a better team than all these other teams that we're going to be talking about. And when we do talk about the Pacific Division a bit later on, I do think they're better than the wild card teams in that division as well. So I don't think it's over yet for Winnipeg. Obviously, they're well far behind what they were hoping to achieve this year in the regular season, but it's not over for them yet.
Yeah. No, absolutely. They're still in the race.
Let's talk about your team then. The Chicago Blackhawks, 13th in our power rankings, 6th in the Central Division, also on 32 points. I'll let you lead off on Chicago this week.
What a week. Yeah. Everything has all come to a head in that 3-2 road loss to the St. Louis Blues. 0.8 seconds left on the clock in the entire game. Connor Bedard goes to try and get a shot straight off the face-off in what is the last play of the game. And what the head coach, Jeff Blashill, has described as a bit of a freak accident has basically led to Shen on the Blues giving him a bit of a bump with the stick. Bedard's got a separated shoulder, been placed on injured reserve. He's not going to be reevaluated until the start of January. And that's kind of where we're at with that. First game, out against the Red Wings. Let's see if we can sort of, drive a big team performance here for Connor in his absence. Get shut out 4-0. Tricky times in Chicago right now. Really, really tricky. Again, we still say week after week, this is still a significantly better season than I think a lot of people were having or thinking that they were going to have. And as a result, that's kind of why this injury to Bedard hurts more than if they were just lingering around the bottom of the league. But they're going to have to try and find a way to play without him for now. And just try and figure it out. But yeah, I'm absolutely gutted with the injury. I'm gutted with the way they're playing, and yeah, they're just going to have to try and figure out a way to play.
It's devastating. Also, it's the worst possible thing that could have happened for you with this team. It does seem like a lot of a lot of play comes through Bedard naturally, but also he's also like the new leader on this team. There's not much more I can say other than I'm sorry for you. I'm sorry for all the other Chicago fans out there. Obviously, at the start of the year, you were doing so well. You were ahead of the Wild and stuff, and things have sort of flipped on its head now. And I just hope that your team doesn't go into a tailspin
Yeah,
and crash out.
yeah. Yeah, yeah, they'll have to figure out something. And you know what? I've been really happy with what I've seen from Jeff Blashill this year, and I think that he's definitely got the minerals to to try and dig something out of this lineup. So yeah, they're on a Canadian road trip at the moment. The Maple Leafs, the Habs, the Senators coming up before returning home to face the Flyers. They then face the Stars on the road in the first game after Christmas before being at home to the Pittsburgh Penguins on the 28th. So we'll see what the festive season brings for Chicago. Will it be lumps of coal or big, pretty presents with a bow tied on it?
Can I just ask as well? I've noticed that Sam Rinzel's been playing in the AHL in the past week or so. Like, what's the crack with that? Has he kept that close an eye on it? Is his performance has been rough?
Um, there's basically just been so obviously what we saw from Sam Rinzel last season was a guy who came up at the end of his college career. He was a Hobey Baker finalist, for the best college player in the league. Came in, I think, was riding on adrenaline momentum and came in and looked undeniably, terrific. This season, I think he's been okay. There's rarely been a lot of times, I think, where you are single-handedly like, man, Rinzel is absolutely killing us tonight. But he just isn't flourishing right at this moment in time. It's there's a really good analogy. I can't remember it was one of the prospect analyst guys. It was saying like with young defensemen when they come into the NHL that they look like, externally they look like a duck just bobbing away on the water, just getting through life and figuring it out on the go. But then you look under the water and their legs are just kicking for dear life, and they're just trying to stay afloat. And what they're doing on a night to night basis is just trying to stay afloat, as opposed to what can I actually do to to flourish my game and play with the skill and ability that that I have done. So he's had a few sort of rough games recently. I think they're just trying to take a bit of pressure off him, give him a stint in the AHL, and then he'll be, for me, it wouldn't surprise me if we saw him back before the end of 2025. But I think he just needed a bit of a boost down in the AHL, I think. But I think certainly in the wider fan base opinion, I don't think there's any sort of real concerns about Sam Rinzel at this particular moment in time. I think they're happy with what they've seen so far, but are kind of acknowledging that maybe just needs a bit of seasoning. Maybe the chicken came out of the oven a bit too early.
No, nothing as bad as a bit of rare chicken.
Yeah.
Okay, well, going from rare chicken to well done steak. We've got St. Louis Blues, 7th place in this division, 31 points, so only a point behind the Winnipeg Jets and Chicago Blackhawks. But they've had a weird, I can't say a weird week, it's a pretty standard week for them. The 3 losses and a win. The only win coming against your Blackhawks. But yeah, they've blown out against the Bruins 5-2, lost against the Predators 7-2, and also 5-2. Binnington playing half a game, gets pulled for Hofer, and Hofer's played the rest of them and still not done that well. So the Blues are ticking along. They're picking up points, but I still don't think they're a team worth the shot for the playoffs or anything like that.
Absolutely not. No. Yeah, this team's garbage. Obviously, that's maybe my personal bias speaking, but for me, there's just nothing exciting about this St. Louis team. I think they have a couple of players of high quality. I think their goaltending is abysmal. I think they're defensively weak. I think they're offensively blunt. And I don't really see much. The fact they even beat the Blackhawks 3-2 was annoying enough in itself. But they're uninspiring. They do nothing for me.
Much the same. I mean, they got Thomas on 23 points in 30 games, and everyone else is pretty much on half a point a game. So, yeah, minus 37 plus minus in comparison to other teams in this division. Like the team we're going to be talking about next are on the minus 19. So, yeah, agree with everything you said. It's a miracle how they've got as many points as they have for me, but that's where we're at. And they play the Jets, Rangers, Panthers, Lightning, and the Predators. So, not the worst schedule in the world, but yeah,
I'm just not sure. I'm just not sure where the points are going to come from at the moment for them, both in the standings and actually on the ice. Like I'm just not, obviously Rob Thomas had a semi decent week, but I'm just not seeing where that scoring is going to come from. And then they don't have the goaltending at the other end. I know when we're talking to our next team, I think that they do have a better goalkeeper that can win them some games. But yeah, I'm really struggling to see where the victories are going to come from for St. Louis.
Yeah. So the last team in the division in 8th place on 30 points, only 1 point behind, are the Nashville Predators. I've secretly sort of admired their week. They beat the Avalanche 4-3 in a shootout. They then smashed the Blues 7-2. They did lose the return game against the Avalanche 4-2, but that's no great shakes. And then they beat the Blues again 5-2. So they've had a good week. They've picked up 5 points out of 8, which is great for a team like the Predators for a Predators team this year. But yeah, what do you think about the Predators?
Yeah, they've had a really good week, and we were saying last week in our recap show then that these 2 games of Nashville against St. Louis were going to be really important in terms of shaping how the bottom of the Central looks. And I can't remember if we made any sorts of predictions if one team was going to win one and one the other. But they picked up 2 really convincing wins, and they were able to push the Avalanche right to a shootout that they were able to come out on the right side of that coin flip. And then, losing 4-2 to the Avalanche is no great feat. Teams do that night in, night out, more or less. But yeah, some really, really impressive performances, some that we'll get to specifically, but especially, the likes of Yossi and Evangelista and Svechkov and, getting in amongst the assists and getting amongst the points. And I know I've said it before, but I do really like Luke Evangelista. I'm really glad they're able to, get him re-signed, and he looks like a really confident playmaker, in this league. So yeah, dead happy for him.
Decent goaltending this week too. All 4 games above 900. Even a Noonan coming in with a decent result with the against the Avalanche. But yeah, again, this team I don't think is going to be going anywhere near the playoffs this year. But they seem to have a bit more spark than the Blues do. They're easier on the eye, and they have the occasional great game, but they're just not consistent. I think, but
yeah, absolutely. I think they've definitely got a bit more kind of star power and those ability for those big game moments. But I still think they are as a whole still a poor team. I still don't see them going anywhere particularly far. But they are definitely a team capable of having some entertaining games.
Right, so we'll go on to our first of our segments here then, just to recap the week. And I think we'll start off with Plays of the Week this week. So, what are your thoughts on Plays of the Week?
Well, for me, there's a couple of candidates here. Obviously, we have to shout out Bill Guerin for getting that trade done in
I thought that
Quinnesota.
was going to be my big play of the week.
He's not my player of the week. For me, it's Steven Stamkos. I love when an aging player puts on a performance that just like resets everyone's watches back. And it was a vintage Steven Stamkos performance, right in amongst the goals. Had a great game, and really really impressive night. I mean, let's not forget this is a guy with 2 Rocket Richard trophies. I think a guy who has previously scored big time numbers in the goals department, and it was it was just really cool for the kind of nostalgia to see him bring it all out again.
Yeah, it was a great performance. For me, is it performance of the week rather than play of the week? I don't know. In the spirit of this, I'll accept it. I think his play of that week was great. My vote obviously would be for Billy G. Um, big play. But yeah, good selections, I think.
Yeah, some good choices.
Good choices. Right, we'll dip into the Metro division then. Yep, so up one spot this week in the Metro division is our third power ranked team, the Carolina Hurricanes. They're sat on 44 points, 21-9-2 record. So, a minute, yeah. Maths don't quite maths there. I'll see if we'll correct that. But they've had a great storming week. They played 4 games. They've won all 4, though 3 of them were in a shootout. What do you think about the Hurricanes week this week?
Yeah, it's been an interesting week for Carolina, sort of getting their way right down there. And you know what? I was going to include this as a part of sort of plays of the week, but I decided to go with Stamkos. I'm gonna just indulge me for the next 120 seconds whilst I put on my train conductor's cap. I blow the whistle. Choo choo. All aboard the Bussi train.
Bussy bus.
Brandon Bussi
Sorry.
has become the fastest goaltender to 10 wins in NHL history. And we'll just sit with that for a second whilst, let that marinate for a moment. Fastest goaltender to 10 wins. He's done it in 11 games. Now, you look at some of the goaltenders in this league, up and down it. You look at some of the great goaltenders of the past. You look at Dominic Hasek and Martin Brodeur and Patrick Roy, Marc-Andre Fleury, Roberto Luongo, Carey Price, all these guys, none of which have reached 10 victories in the NHL to start their career faster than this guy. And this was a guy that Carolina claimed off of waivers. So he was a waiver claim, has come in, and just been unreal. It's so bizarre. It's so bizarre, but I'm here for it. He seems, absolutely thrilled every time he's out on the ice. He's kind of standing on his head at the moment and being, just absolutely terrific. But all aboard the Bussi train.
It is a great story. I think we touched on this in the past. It's always nice when new players, generally rookies or something like that, but when there's a surprise story, it goes against the mean, and it's great to watch and see. There is a sad element to this. In that, Hurricanes have played 3 goalkeepers this year. Bussi, we've talked about. Kuchetkov, who's had a lot better year than he had last year. But then seemingly the odd man out now is Freddie Anderson, the legend that he is. He's not getting the wins. His goals against average is more than 3. His save percentage is below 900 in comparison to the other 2 goalkeepers. That is a poor return. And they're winning with these other goalkeepers. So where does that leave Freddie Anderson? We might have seen that this might be his swan song now.
Kind of leaves him very much kind of out in the dark, really, doesn't it? This is someone who is 36 years old now, isn't getting any younger. He could be someone who, could become available. But, look, as we've already said, teams always need goaltenders. And I can think of a few teams sort of in and around the playoff contention aspect that I think are probably looking at that situation thinking, maybe a 36-year-old, Freddie Anderson could help us get the job done. Alternatively, Carolina might sit down with Freddie Anderson and say, we're going with Bussi and Kochetkov for now. We'll try and give you sporadic starts where we can, but we really want to help you use your playoff experience and bring you more in sort of during the playoffs. I don't know. They may potentially sort of go down that avenue. But yeah, it's an interesting period of time for him at the moment, I think.
Yeah. Interesting conversation, really. But great week for Carolina. They are establishing themselves sort of more at the top of this division. Again, it's a bit flip-floppy as we keep talking about, but I think, again, they're trying to break free, and 4 wins in a week will get that. We'll do that for you.
Yeah. Oh, big time. Big time. There's been some more shootout victories with the second place team as well.
Yeah. The second place team in this division, up 1 spot on 41 points, is the New York Islanders. I like this team. I don't know why. They are up and down, but we record of 19, 11, and 3, plus 7 on the season. Yep, 2 wins out of 3 coming in shootouts. 3 games, 3 wins, 6 points. Smashing it.
Yeah, really good, great week for Anders Lee and Holmstrom as well, both kind of getting a couple of goals, couple of assists. Anthony Duclair, Matt Barzal, both getting 3 assists apiece as well. I really like Anthony Duclair. Loved it when he was, for the albeit very brief stint he was on the Blackhawks. Just a proper bottom 6 speedster. I'm a big fan. He's kind of one of those, like, I know he's not like an elite player, but he's always just someone who I'm like, yeah, let's cheer that guy on. They've been
like Hinostroza for the Wild.
Yeah, I love Hinostroza as well. He's a Chicago native, so big fan. They've had a great week, and again the fans certainly getting their money's worth with the shootout victories as well. Good performances from Sorokin, Rittick as well. Coming up big in the game against the Ducks. So they've got again a bit of a mixed schedule kind of coming up. They're on the road to Detroit and home to the Canucks, on the road to the Sabres, and then home to the Devils and Rangers. So they're playing a lot of games sort of in and around that kind of central part of the country. In sort of Detroit and Buffalo and New Jersey, New York, all those sorts of areas, kind of all playing within the same ballpark. I just wanted to again just to run something by you very quickly, and again this is kind of more just from what I've seen a lot of on social media this week. But to you, like, what is generational? If someone was to say someone being a generational player, And it's, I suppose, a two-part question is, what is generational to you? And do you think that we use the term generational player a bit too much in the social media space?
I think we do. We use it as a projection rather than like a description of a specific player. Like a generational player is almost like the creme de la creme of Hall of Fame standards for me. It should be the best of the Hall of Fame. Somebody who has changed the face of hockey. I mean, for me, you think a generational player, Sidney Crosby,
Yeah,
Alex
Alex
Ovechkin,
Ovechkin. Yeah,
those kind of players. Obviously, you look about Wayne Gretzky, Mario Lemieux, Marc-Andre Fleury. That like names that even non-hockey fans will know the names of. Generally speaking, I mean, people use it. I presume you're thinking of sort of Matthew Schaefer.
just seen a lot of people
in
saying
this
that Matthew Schaefer is a generational defenseman, and I just thought that was a little bit early to be saying that kind of 33 games into his NHL career. I think he has the capacity to be a fantastic defenseman, but we've got the next 20 years to discuss his trajectory, like why we're calling him generational off the bat. But just a small picky aspect, but yeah, I think we're just a bit.
It's got me thinking because then you look at Bedard and Celebrini, and obviously see how Gavin McKenna gets on when he gets drafted, and all these players who are touted to be, and at this current moment in time, absolutely running the show and showing that they could be in the league for 20 or 15, 20 years, racking up points after points after points after points after points. But if Bedard never plays again because his shoulder's like inside out now, like
Don't.
he's had that generational potential, but is
Yeah,
he a generational player right now? I'd say no, but Bedard is still way clear of Schaefer at this moment in time in terms of his career. So yeah, I'm completely on board with you with that point.
yeah, yeah. No, again, I know it was a slight little sidebar there, but yeah, I just wanted to bring it up. But yeah, anything further on the Rangers? Sorry, on the Rangers, on the Islanders, or we good to shimmy on?
We gotta get to the Rangers yet, don't worry. No, let's move on. Third place team. Okay, so cold week for the Washington Capitals. They've only played 2 games this week. They have lost both. And they lost against the Hurricanes in a shootout, and then lost against the Jets 5-1. Ouch. What that means is they dropped 2 spots in this division, still on 40 points. I still think they're a decent team. Obviously, we ranked them 27th in our power rankings, so I think that's one that we got wrong.
Yeah,
But yeah,
for sure.
bit of a nothing week, I guess, for the Capitals.
Yeah, a sticky week for the Capitals, and I watched the game against the Jets, and to be honest, the Jets put on an absolute clinic. Goal scoring wise, attacking wise, there was a number of those goals that the Jets scored that I think Washington could have had like all 6 of their defensemen on the roster on the ice, and they still wouldn't have stopped them from scoring them. They were just properly locked in. But yeah, look, they're still, they're still vastly outperforming our power rankings. They've completely mugged us off there, and I think they're a better team than I think what people were maybe expecting them to be this year. And we're seeing the Ovechkin playmaker arc. At this late stage in his career where he's out assisting his goals. But yeah, I know they've had a bit of a rough one, just picking up the singular point. But they were a tricky couple of games, and we'll see how they do coming up. Obviously, they've got the Wild, the Maple Leafs, back-to-back games against the Red Wings, the Rangers and the Devils as well. So some tricky games within that run. So we'll have to see how they get on and how they do.
Yeah. this is information I wish I could just pull out of my brain, having known the answer to it, but we can't. But I do wonder how many of Ovechkin's assists this year have just come off rebounds of shots that he's taken.
That would be really interesting to figure out.
Yeah, because I can see it now. Like, he's getting older, his shots aren't quite as sharp as they used to be, and instead of going in top bins, they're bouncing off the keeper's helmet or off a pad or something like that, and landing straight at the feet of Tom Wilson, who's in the middle of sending the keeper back into his own net and into row Z, but accidentally sort of hits the puck into the net instead. That, like, I don't know. It's just a thing I wish I could just pull from my head.
Yeah. No, that's very interesting thought process.
Yeah. It's a sleep deprived thought process, but yeah. So the fourth place team in this division, up 2 spots, it's the perennial middle of the road Philadelphia Flyers this year. They played 4 games. They've beat the Sharks 4-1, lost a close one in overtime to the Golden Knights, and then lost to the Hurricanes in successive shootouts. So, yeah. Instead of Minnesota, it's Midadelphia Flyers, I think.
Oh, yeah. They're our. I think they're our most sort of. We've said, haven't we, throughout this year, they've been pretty much like the most consistent team in the whole league of kind of being consistently around the middle. And even with 3 losses in those 4 games, they still come out the week, with 5 points across their last 4 games. So, a decent, an entertaining showing, I think, this week from the Flyers. Again, Zegras is turning on the style a little bit now. He's at 32 points in 31 games. Konechny as well, having another good season as well. He's another sort of really nice player. I like Travis Konechny a lot. And they've got a lot of road games coming up, sort of in their next 6 to kind of round out the end of the year. But I think it's just going to be a bit more of sort of sliding up 2, sliding down 2, staying put, up 1, down 1, sort of very much just right around the middle.
And that might actually gets them into the playoffs at the end of the year. Just that consistency. They might squeak the last wild card spot. It's not against the realms of possibility, but I think this is way better than what they were doing in the past few years. And I keep saying that. So
definitely, yeah, definitely. They're definitely a much
Good
more
work,
watchable team.
Yeah. Right, so we'll go to the 5th place team in this division. Again, another team with a kind of a bit of a weird struggles. Down 1 spot, Pittsburgh Penguins on 37 points. They played another team with 4 games. They lost to the Ducks in a shootout, lost to the Habs in regulation, then lost 2 overtime games on the bounce to the Sharks and the Mammoth. So they played close games, but they can't quite convert this week, it seems.
No, and we've kind of said week after week, haven't we? They're kind of finding a way to just stay sort of on the periphery of that conversation regarding their performances, their potential for a playoff spot, and even though they've lost all 4 of their games this week, they've still come away with 3 points. And those could be, every point is going to matter at the end of the season, and potentially, they could look at that, those OT losses and think that, see them ending up being as 2 points gained rather than the points dropped. But I mean, both the games against the Sharks and the Mammoth were both really rough, blowing big time leads in both of those games, which they just can't be doing. They just can't be doing that. They are missing Malkin. Crosby's kind of trying to single-handedly drag this team over the line, and we're just going to have to see how he does.
Yeah. One big news coming from this week, we talked about Quinn Hughes and that trade, but the Pittsburgh Penguins were also part of a trade themselves, weren't they?
Yeah, they certainly were. Tristan Jarry has moved on from Pittsburgh. He has gone to Edmonton. In return, Pittsburgh got Brett Kulak. They got Stuart Skinner. They got a second-round pick. Now, I know that there was a sort of AHL tweener that went to Edmonton as well as a part of that deal, but his name escapes me at this moment in time. I think Pittsburgh.
Irrelevant, really.
I think Pittsburgh won this trade undeniably. I mean, for me, I think between Stuart Skinner and Tristan Jarry, I don't think there's kind of too much in that conversation at all. It's really interesting with Edmonton saying that they weren't planning to, they weren't going to make a lateral move if they were going to go out and get a new goaltender. And I don't know, for me, Jarry and Skinner are kind of one and the same. They're both like capable of having their good moments, but have a track record of being completely unreliable. And then Pittsburgh have picked up a second round pick, which for a team that we do still anticipate they will kind of go into rebuild mode. Having those second round picks never hurts to have more picks in your pocket. But what are your thoughts on the trade? Did you have a particular trade winner?
I'm very much in line with you. Pittsburgh have won this. It's been a desperation move for Edmonton, purely moved on the basis of the fans demanding it, really. So the management team there have succumbed to the pressures in the media, which is never a good sign when they're responding purely to speculation, and also really, out of all the goalkeepers we talked about in last week's episode, and I was like, well, Jar is probably at least with Binnington, we know he's shit, and we don't like him, but he's a big name, he's big character, he's Canada's goalkeeper, etc., which would make sense for Edmonton, etc. You could sell that move probably a bit more, but the fact is they went for Jarry, and for Pittsburgh, they've also got Seelovs and Murashov who've shown that they're also okay. Then I've got Skinner coming in. I don't think it's that big a loss for them. I just think, Pittsburgh have won this.
Yeah, I mean, let's not forget, Tristan Jarry cleared waivers last year. He was sent he was sent down, and all of a sudden he's now worth a second round pick, and Brett Kulak is a very, for me anyways, a very serviceable, probably bottom pair NHL defenseman. Just kind of strengthens your everyday roster a little bit. I just think you kind of get a 1-for-1 with your goalie plus Kulak, which they may end up potentially flipping maybe towards the deadline anyway. And the second round pick, I just it's said it in the last episode. Never underestimate the stupidity of an NHL general manager. As a Chicago fan, having been there and done it and seen it firsthand, I would say to every Edmonton fan, never underestimate the stupidity of Stan Bowman. And I can't remember who said there's quite a decent quote that says, when a team's general manager starts behaving and making decisions based off of the views of the fans, if that's how they operate, it won't be too long until he's just sat there in the stands with him. But I agree with you. It feels like it's been a complete pressure play from the Oilers fan base of saying, we need to get Skinner out, we need to get someone in. We'll go get Jarry in. That'll make McDavid happy. Yada yada yada. That was a fumble of a trade for me.
This team, I mean, we will talk about the Edmonton Oilers later on in terms of just how their week's gone. But while we talk about this trade, Edmonton Oilers are going to implode in approximately 18 months' time. It's going to be fascinating to watch. I think they are going to tailspin. And this might be another one of my takes that might blow up in my face and make me look dumb. But they've come from Stanley Cup final appearances to struggling this year, making trades like this. It's all the signs of of a bit of a meltdown, the change in management, a change in coaching, potentially a change in star players.
It's a
But
trade of
we'll see.
desperation, that's for sure.
Yeah. It stinks.
Yeah.
Right. Another thing that stinks is probably the queue to get into the New Jersey Devils medical room. Yeah. They moved up this one spot this week, up into sixth place, 37 points, and they've had a bit of a yo-yo week. But I think the New Jersey Devils season, as I kind of forecast, and I'm going to give myself some credit here in that their fragility and all their players getting injured is really having an impact on them. They beat the Senators 4-3. They then lost to the Lightning 8-4. Beat the Ducks 4-1, and then lost to the Canucks 2-1. It's up and down week, but you look at the top scorers for them this week, and they probably wouldn't have even. None of them would have been playing sort of week one.
No, unlikely. And I think I tip my cap to you, Nathaniel. I think it's been a very good prediction, and I would echo that entirely. Is that this New Jersey team is terrific when everything works, but they're too fragile. They'll lose players over the course of a season, more so than your regular team would. And we're just seeing them come apart at the seams in sort of real time, and that's a shame because they had a really, really good start to the year, and you can't legislate for things like the Hughes injury. You just can't legislate for that sort of thing. So a real shame, and I think this could get quite ugly quite quickly.
Yeah. They've also got another Freddie Anderson on their roster, Jacob Markstrom. I don't think he's really cutting it. Allen, the second goalkeeper, who's doing okay, bit better, but he's also aging. Is he going to cut it out in this league much longer? I don't know. I think Timo Meyer's out with personal issues and doesn't have a timeline to return. I might be incorrect on exactly if they knew when he's going to come back. Obviously, Jack Hughes has got that injury. In this division where it's so up and down, there's teams that sort of doing well and doing bad. Like they might have a chance, but likewise, they could be easily one of the teams that fall out of it. So, making our ranking that they're sixth in our power rankings look a bit daft, I think.
Yeah, potentially. But yeah, I completely agree. And again, just on a completely separate note, I know that, like you said, Timo Meyer's currently taking a leave of personal absence due to a family illness. So just hope that everything's all good on his end. Exactly the same thing as what we said with Joseph Wall from the Maple Leafs is that as long as he gets all the help that he needs, and I do think the NHLPA are quite good at getting the players that support. Hopefully he just gets everything he needs and is able to come back to the team as and when he's ready. But yeah, just sending the best to Timo Meyer, especially at this sort of time of year, man. It sucks, but
It does. The Devils go up against the Golden Knights away, the Utah Mammoth away, home against the Sabres, away at the Islanders, and then home against the Capitals. So I think the last three games over the Christmas period, the Sabres, Islanders, the Capitals, hopefully they'll be able to pick up some decent points into the division and with a weaker team. So we'll see how they get on.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah. So the seventh team, down 2 spots this week, the New York Rangers, 36 points, 16 wins, 14 losses, 4 losses in overtime, on a -3. Now, I've said it last week, the Rangers are a team that just completely frustrate me. They had a nothing performance against the Blackhawks 3-0, got shut out there. They then come out and beat the Montreal Canadiens 5-4 in overtime. Why? I don't know. What they're ruining our fandoms. And then they came out and then had a nothing performance against the Anaheim Ducks and lost 4-1. So they haven't had good goaltending this week either. I'm bored of this. I'm sick of it.
Yeah, and I think there's
I'm
a lot
done.
of Rangers fans feeling the same way. We're all getting kind of bored of it now. Um, yeah, they're just a tough watch, and I think that I don't know. I was just about to say I think we're getting to a position now where we just write the Rangers off in terms of being playoff hopefuls, but I'm not ready to do that yet. I'm not ready to do that. But for the love of God, like, get some consistency sorted. Like, oh, I agree with you. They're definitely within that handful of the most frustrating teams in the league from like a fan base perspective. In terms of if I was a fan, they would just drive me absolutely insane. So
The amount of no-shows. This is the consistency when like there are teams that are inconsistent that can score goals and go up and down the ice, and they do lose sort of big goal games. But the New York Rangers, if they show up, they can give a team the match and they might win by a goal or two, but then they'll often show up and just play shit. Don't
yeah,
look like scoring, and that is what is painful. Like teams like Nashville, for example, who lose more than their fair share of games, but you'll have 2 or 3 goals scored at least. Whereas the Rangers, I think my money would be on they're the team who gets shut out the most. Yeah.
yeah, they're just still like a very blunt team, aren't they?
But yeah, shall we move on to the last team in this division then?
Yeah,
To the
bit of a sad one for me. I think this is a team who I am ready to count out of the playoff race now. They're 8 points out of a playoff spot now, so we'll move into them.
the Columbus Blue Jackets. I think everyone's sort of pet favourite team. I don't think many people dislike the Blue Jackets. The 22nd in our power rankings, bottom of this division, 32 points. 3 games played this week and 3 straight losses, not even in overtime. Lost 4-1 against the Hurricanes, 6-3 against the Senators, and then 3-2 to the Golden Knights. Zach Werenski is carrying this team. As a defenseman, he's leading the team by 7 points in terms of production, which is not a good sign, really, is it?
No, it's not. And these are the fine margins though that we constantly sort of talk about and discuss within this league. Is they've lost 3 of their games, and Pittsburgh also lost all of their games. But Pittsburgh picked up 3 points in the standings because they were able to get those games to overtime, shootouts, etc. And Columbus couldn't do that, and that's kind of been the difference throughout this year, is they just haven't had that extra half yard in a game to get them, into overtime, into the shootout. Like, it's just not quite been enough, and it's seen them fall away. And look, Zach Werenski is, I love him. I constantly make reference to how much I do really enjoy Zach Werenski. And I do wonder, and this is just my conversational thought process thinking out loud, just about potentially if, does the market begin to open for someone like Zach Werenski? Or, I don't know, what are your thoughts on that? Is he someone who you could see being in Columbus long term, or do you think he's someone who could find himself maybe on the move?
I think he stays put, personally. Unlike the Vancouver Canucks, who are kind of a bit of a meltdown team, who definitely aren't going anywhere this year, the Blue Jackets, yes, they're really struggling, but they could pull it around. They are a team sort of on the up. It seems like a team players like to play for the most part, kind of thing, and I think he's well rooted in that team at the moment. And I personally haven't seen any sort of rumours out there or any talks that he might be gone. So I think, at least for this year, I think he's staying put for me. I think.
Oh, yeah. And I definitely don't think it's anything that would be be imminent. But it's just okay, if the Blue Jackets continue down this trajectory over the next few years of kind of struggling and, really kind of finding it hard to make an impact in the league, whether Werenski thinks, I've only got one career, I might need to go and sort of try my hand elsewhere to try and get some, some glory. But yeah, it was just a fleeting thought, and definitely not something that I think we would see imminently.
No. Right, shall we move on to our second segment then? Now, what do you want to talk about? Do you want to talk about our cheeks or our stones?
Ooh. I'm in the mood for some cheeks. I don't know about you.
Yeah, let's get cheeky with it.
Well,
we touched on this team already, I think.
No, we haven't.
Unanimous.
We haven't touched on them yet, but this was a unanimous decision.
Yeah. Shall we say it at the same time?
1, 2, 3.
2, 3. Evan Bouchard.
Yeah. Just.
Oh.
Absolute cheeks.
That guy. How is he a professional defenseman?
Whether we want to incorporate this into Cheeks of the Week or, Fraud Watch or something like that, I'm convinced at this point that that Evan Bouchard is just like not real. That he's just some sort of like plant to see. It's like he's a social experiment plant to test like the mental fortitude of hockey fans. But yeah, Evan Bouchard in the game against the Buffalo Sabres. I've seen some people blaming Stuart Skinner for it, but I'm not having that whatsoever. Him and Stuart Skinner are just absolutely, for lack of a better term, just faffing around with the puck behind the goal. Bouchard decides to pick it up and try and get it moving, and then just immediately gets stripped of the puck by Tage Thompson in front of his own goal. And Thompson has the easiest goal he will score in his career.
Yeah. For me, it's the equivalent of in football, a goalkeeper trying to dribble the ball out of the net, a player tackling him, rolling it up towards the goal, bending down on their knees and nudging the ball over the line with his head. That's kind of how bad this play was.
In essence, and again, there might be some lip reading experts out there, but Thompson definitely said something to Bouchard on his way back to the bench after scoring, something along the lines of thanks or thank you or something along those lines. But yeah, just what a disastrous play from someone who's quite a disastrous player in my opinion.
Oh, makes me laugh.
But he gets
right.
assists. He gets assists though. He gets assists, so that's fine.
Yeah, but for both teams, like, he just loves sharing it around. Yeah,
Christ.
Yeah, right. We'll move on to the Atlantic Division. Now, the first team in this division is still the Tampa Bay Lightning on 39 points, record of 18-3. The ninth in our power rankings, and they've had a bit of a weird week, like a lot of teams like this week. They started off with a 2-0 loss to the Maple Leafs. This is a 4-game away trip, by the way. They then went to the Habs and smashed them 6-1. They then went to the Devils and smashed them 8-4. They then lost the Islanders in a shootout before losing the Battle of Florida 5-2 in just true Battle of Florida fashion. But yeah, Kucherov coming in with a goal and 7 assists. Brandon Point finally coming in with some points. Thank you. Fantasy team, 2 points, 2 goals, 5 assists. And 5 consecutive games this week for Johansson. So what you got to say about the Tampa Bay Lightning this week?
Yeah, it's. I think this is about as kind of results wise, about as weird as you get. Wait, hang on, Nathaniel. You know what we got here? We got a 5-5.
We got a 5-5.
5-5.
So not only just a 3-3, a 5-5, a rare 5-5.
I think that might be our first one of the season. But yeah, a great week from from Kucherov and Point, and Darren Radish as well, getting amongst the goals as well as on the assists as well. He's an underrated player, I think. Darren Radish. He's on 24 points in 27 games this season. As a defenseman, he's doing really well. So yeah, look, I still think I still think this is Tampa's division to lose. I think they have figured it all out, and they've just had a couple of sort of stinky games recently, as all teams kind of tend to do. But yeah, I like this Tampa team. I think they're going to be interesting when we get to come playoff time.
Yeah. They have lost Victor Hedman. He's out injured. Obviously, they're waiting for Vasilevsky to come back as well. But yeah, it's great when you can play a root vegetable on your blue line and he scores 4 goals, gets 2 assists.
Guess where?
It's just great.
Guess where Darren Radish was drafted? As in terms of
at the root of the draft.
Right. In terms of his draft position, do you think he was an early round pick? Do you think he was a late pick?
I don't know. You tell me, Matt.
Well, he wasn't drafted. He was an undrafted.
He wasn't drafted.
He's an undrafted player who just came into the league and decided, yeah, I'm gonna be quite decent. But yeah, he's what a story. Yeah, I like Darren Radish. He's
sorry to beat up on it, but yeah.
Stop it.
He's a good player, but I'll make another one. Go on then. Yeah, if you could ask anyone what their favourite 256 vegetables are, Radish would be undrafted.
Well, yeah, absolutely. I've got no time for radishes whatsoever.
Sorry.
Yeah, but
anyway,
yeah,
so
a good
carry on.
An up and down week for Tampa, but yeah, I still think it's their division to lose. But that second place team, the perennial yo-yo, are going to have something to say, I think.
It's another sort of frustrating team, I guess, really. Like, 1 week I think, yeah, they're really good. Come on, you can do it. And then the next week they just go a bit. But yeah, the Detroit Red Wings, they're up 2 spots again to second place, 39 points. 4 games, 3 wins this week. 2 shutout wins at that as well. John Gibson coming in huge. But they beat the Canucks 4-0. Beat the Flames 4-3, lost the Oilers 4-1, and then beat your Blackhawks 4-0. But yeah, good week for good old Detroit.
Yeah, a good week for them, and we'll probably see them lose all their games next week and drop another 3 spots in this division. It's just like, it turns out all the kind of centennial teams this year, the Rangers and Detroit especially, are just being incredibly frustrating. And then obviously frustration with Bedard's injury for Chicago as well. But some weird centennial seasons happening, that's for sure.
They're a decent team, and over the next couple of weeks, they've got one of the heaviest schedules going. Playing 7 games. They're coming up. The Islanders, the Mammoth, back-to-backs against the Capitals. Then finishing off with the Stars, Hurricanes, and Maple Leafs. So, I mean, the Atlantic is a very close division this year. I mean, they got first place on 39 points, and also Detroit on 39 points as well. Our next 2 teams are on 38 points, so it's all to play for. It's a very, very close division.
Yeah,
So
yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
we'll go on to a third place team, and it's one of our sort of pet favourite teams as well. The Montreal Canadiens, they stay put in third, 38 points, 17 wins, 11 losses. This team seems to, every time I check up how they're doing, they always seem to come off a loss, but yet they're still getting some wins on the board. But they did lose 6-1 against the Lightning to start the week, beat the Penguins 4-2, and then lost to the Rangers in overtime 5-4, but then beat the Oilers 4-1. So they're a bit inconsistent themselves, but they're getting there.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I still think this is a team playoff bound. I think I just think that they've got the overall quality. And speaking of quality, the pocket rocket, Lane Hudson, with 6 assists in those 4 games, really really good player. Not sure if he's the most defensive of defensemen, but certainly as an offensive weapon, he's a really really good piece to this team, and fits the mold really well. And another good week for Suzuki and Slavkovsky, and they're finding themselves up there. They are on a -8 goal differential, but I think when they play the way they do, obviously I think they are quite an offense first team. That I think on the nights where that kind of stutters a little bit, I think it finds them in a position where they are kind of prone to conceding quite a lot of goals. But yeah, I do like this team, and they are nothing if not entertaining.
Yeah. It seems like they got rid of Montembeau, and they brought up Fowler to make his debut, and it seems like he's going to be sticking around with Dobes as the 1-2 tandem. What that means for Montembeau, well, obviously will remain to be seen. But yeah, I like this team.
Yeah,
I don't know why. As opposed to other teams that are frustrating, that are up and down, but they're fun to watch.
yeah. I mean, I have just seen. I was just kind of wanting to check in on that, and I can see that Montembeau has been sent to the AHL for a conditioning stint, which is generally what players are allowed to do when they return from an injury. So I think that Montembeau, it is ringing a bell now. Did pick up a bit of a knock. I'm sure we'll see him back soon. Um, yeah, he started the season really, really quite poorly actually. And it seemed that it was Dobesh's position to lose. He's kind of found himself back in the lineup a bit. Picked up a knock, and I'm sure we'll see him kind of back in the lineup soon.
Yeah. Unless Fowler does really well, in which case Montembeau might find himself somewhere else.
Yeah.
Um, moving to the fourth team, down 2 spots, essentially traded places with Detroit, is the Boston Bruins. 38 points, so again, top 4 teams separated by a single point, but they played 3 games all on the road. They beat the Blues 5-2, the Jets 6-3, and then lost to my Wild 6-2. So Pasternak still banging in the goals. Geeky having a week without any goals. Geeky for Richard.
No.
Um, no, Geeky not for Richard, it seems. But no, I mean, it's crazy when you drop 2 points in the division after winning 283 games. But that's just the way the cookie crumbles. Some teams play more games in a week, but uh, so much more improved from last year.
Yeah, big time. They've really found their game this year, and yeah, a big improvement. And yeah, Geeky 4 goals off of the leaguing Nathan McKinnon for the goals. I'm sure he'll get back in amongst it, but yeah, yeah, certainly a much improved performance this year.
Yeah. Right, we'll skirt down then to the fifth place team in this division, and a team who's had a good week. And are they back? Are they back? Are they going to push for the Stanley Cup again? It's the Florida Panthers. 36 points, only 3 points behind now in this division. Crazy compared to where they were a few weeks ago. But again, another another team with a 4-game away trip. They beat the Mammoth 4-3, lost against the inevitable Avalanche 6-2, but then smashed the Stars 4-0 and then beat the Lightning 5-2. So pretty good week for the Panthers.
Yeah, and as I said, kind of at the top of the show, was a really unexpected 4-0 victory against the Stars. Yeah, great performance. Bobrovsky, getting the shot there, and then they've followed that up then with a really impressive victory over the Lightning as well. Yeah, I don't know. They're just not a team you can kind of count out. And I believe I was saying, maybe last week again, listening to 32 Thoughts with Elliot Friedman and Kyle Bukauskas. I know Elliot Friedman was saying he has made when they were bottom of the entire conference, he made a $100 bet that the Panthers still make the playoffs. And if any team can go and do it, it's going to be Florida. But yeah, they're good week from them. They return back home for a few games over the festive period. They've got the Kings, the Hurricanes, the Blues coming up. They then go on the road, to the Hurricanes again, and then they return back home to face the Lightning again in the first game after Christmas. That'll be a blockbuster game for sure. They're just potentially could be back.
That boy Matthew coming back, exciting times. So yeah, we'll see how things goes.
Yeah, absolutely. It'd be good to see Kachuk back in the lineup.
Yeah, good on Matthew. Right. Upper spot in sixth place is the Ottawa Senators on 34 points. Berserker team still, but the way this is playing out, I think they might be the ones to miss out on the playoffs, but still early doors yet. They've again played 4 games, lost against the Devils 4-3, beat the Blue Jackets 6-3, lost against the Wild 3-2, and then beat the Jets in overtime. So, what have you got to say about the Senators then?
Yeah, I mean, 4 points out of a playoff spot. So as they kind of have been all season, still finding a way to just be in there. Getting that extra point in the victory over the Jets, could make all the difference. What a week for Tim Stützle as well. 4 goals and 5 assists. Matt's fantasy team has absolutely been loving that. It's been a great week for him. Brady Tkachuk as well, kind of getting back in the points with a goal and 3 assists. So good for him. And they're still a team I'm not willing to count out, but I think I am fading from them a little bit. But I think that's an assessment I'll make in the new year, I think.
Yeah, all it takes is one good week, a couple of good weeks, and they could be right back in this division. But yeah.
Yeah, I mean,
right,
it just goes to show.
Oh,
sorry to cut you off there. It just goes to show again how tight the league is this season as a whole, and how how it really has been one of the most exciting seasons in recent memory, just with how close we are to kind of reaching the halfway point in the season, and there's still really not that many teams that you would completely count out of a playoff spot. So yeah, just loving it, absolutely loving it.
Agreed. We'll move on then into the 7th team, down a spot, the Toronto Maple Leafs. They started off good with a 2-0 shutout win against the Lightning, but then bottled it against the Sharks 3-2 in overtime, and then got smashed by the Oilers 6-3. Not a single player at a point per game. Wall hasn't been playing. Stolarz is still out injured, so they've been relying on Hildeby, who, on the face of it, has done all right, but we keep saying it. Come on, Toronto, pick it up, and they're not.
Yeah, and I think they are the first team in the league, I think, to use 5 goaltenders this season, and I'm gonna try and give it a go of Akhtiamov. pass.
Aktomov, maybe.
Yeah. Maybe. Maybe. But yeah, they're having
Don't
to
trust
kind
me to get it right.
of to ride that tandem of him and Hildeby at the moment. So we'll see. But again, this is a team that we're kind of waiting for them to, still sort of kick into gear. 5 points out of a playoff spot. They need to they need to pick it up. They need to get there. Otherwise, there's going to be some people in Toronto getting very nervous.
They should be doing way better with their roster and how their players are performing, but they're not. And this is where we're at, and they do need to sort it out. But this is a very close division.
For sure.
Right. That leaves us then with... shall we move on then to our next segment? Nah, joking. We will talk about the Buffalo Sabres. 8th team, bottom of this division. Okay, Tage Thompson mugged off Evan Bouchard, which is always fun to talk about. We've already talked about that. Another team. Oh, look, another one with a 4-game away trip that they've just played. They lost to the Flames 7-4. But then... Oh, wait, are they actually interested, Matt? They beat the Oilers in overtime 4-3. They then beat the Canucks 3-2. And then they beat the Kraken 3-1. We're going to have to talk about them, aren't we?
Yeah, and frustratingly enough, as much as we, consistently shit all over the Buffalo Sabres, they have the same amount of points as the Blackhawks do. So, yeah. I mean, look, they've had this a couple of times throughout the season, haven't they? Where they've just gone an absolute tear for a week, and just kind of hoovered up a bunch of points. I think they have had quite a reasonable slate of games this week. Obviously, I appreciate they've all been on the road, but the Flames, the Oilers, the Canucks, the Kraken. Obviously, I know the Oilers are, kind of still trying to be competitive, but those other three teams are kind of well in the realms of mid slash dog shit. So, so I mean, they've got the Flyers, the Islanders, the Devils, the Senators, the Bruins coming up. So still not really facing many of those kind of big hitters in the league. So that they could find themselves in a decent position to pick up some more points. But still no contract for Alex Tuch. I don't think, unless I'm mistaken. Certainly not something I've seen, but that's getting kind of closer and closer. I do know they've just brought in a new general manager. So Jarmo Kekalainen has come in as the new GM in Buffalo. Apparently, he's going to be taking charge of the contract talks with Alex Tuch. So we could maybe see some movement there. But if not, as the trade deadline approaches, he might be someone we find on the move.
Obviously he's come in at the start of the year as a senior advisor. I think the writing was on the wall that he was probably going to take over at some point. But I think the hot news out of Buffalo Sabres with the introduction of the new GM is that in order to get a new contract signed with Tuch, they have to agree on a price. No word of a lie, that was kind of like the headline from one of the press conferences, that to sign a player to a contract that you have to agree on a price.
Yeah.
It's just another reason why Buffalo just baffles me, because naturally that's how agreeing a contract works. You don't sort of go, I don't agree with that, and sign it, do you? No, you don't.
No.
Anyway, enough about that. Another thing they said is they can't continue with a 3-goalkeeper tandem. Okay. Well, which keeper is it that's going to stand up above the rest and start most of your games then? Okay. I've had enough of that. Let's move on.
Yeah. Oh, weird organisation.
Done with the Buffalo Sabres. Just strange. Just strange, man. I'm too tired to deal with their nonsense. Let's talk Stones of the week. We talk cheeks, we talk plays, let's talk Stones. And for me, this is an easy winner. Again, I don't know about you.
Unanimous for me, mate.
Unanimous. Charlie McAvoy, right. I can't remember how many days or weeks ago it was, but he took a puck square to the chin, right? He's still on liquid food. He's lost 20 kilograms. His child's been very unwell, which I hope they get better soon as well. They've had a rough time as a family, but he could easily, and nobody would blame him if he took a step back and probably missed the rest of the season while he gets stuff sorted. But nope, he jumped straight back on the ice, still playing without full protection in my mind. But yeah, he's still liquid food. He's out playing hockey, so Stones of the Week easily goes to McAvoy for me, and for you.
Yeah, and we say this so regularly, but it just goes to show kind of what the athletes, the personalities that these guys are. Some would maybe say somewhat unhinged. I would agree. But yeah, massive respect to McAvoy for wanting to come back, and I hope for his sake that he doesn't have any sort of repercussions. I'm stunned that he's kind of not wearing the bubble helmet with the kind of added jaw protection. Yeah, fair play to the guy. I'm sure his kind of Christmas dinner this year is going to be a wet one, to say the least. And yeah, hopefully he's he's able to to play to the same levels we've seen him. But yeah, absolute massive set of stones on Charlie McAvoy for coming back in.
Yeah, and just pray to God that he doesn't have to pick a fight with anybody, because I can imagine that'd be quite painful if he ends up in a scrap.
Yeah, you know
Something like
what?
that. So I can see.
I would like to think, and we see this kind of weird, like, mutual respect, sort of around the league between the players, is that I don't think I think that the rest of the league is acknowledging the the kind of sacrifice this guy's making to come back. It would really surprise me if if anyone's out there actively looking to pick a fight with Charlie McAvoy, and if they do, I'm sure there is already contingencies in place for 2, 3, 4 guys to come in and stop that happening. But yeah, hopefully not.
Well, when's Matty Rempey coming back for the Rangers? Anyway,
He's not, because he sucks.
it might be the defensive spot they need. Anyway, we'll leave that there. We'll go into the Pacific Division, then the last division of hockey. Up one spot in first place, the Vegas Golden Knights. They've played 3 games. They've lost the shootout to the Islanders 5-4, beat the Flyers in overtime, and then beat the Blue Jackets. Again, very close games, not really presenting themselves as a team we all think they should be, especially us ranking them 5 in our power rankings. But hey, they're getting the points, the top of this division, so the show goes on in Vegas.
Still does, yeah. Yeah, they're just finding ways, aren't they? They're, kind of getting those goaltending performances. I don't really want to talk about that, but they're finding ways. Eichel's back in amongst the points. Mark Stone as well, 2 goals and 2 assists across those 3 games. He's on 24 points in 15 games this year. So, had it not been for that injury, you could be talking about someone, even just on a rough projection. He's missed about half of the games so far. He'd be on kind of like 48, nearly, coming close to 50 points, which is crazy to think about. But I suppose what you get with Mark Stone is an obligatory injury every single year. But that would kind of put him right up with the likes of Celebrini, Draisaitl, Natchez, those types of guys. So really, really interesting to see how well he's performed this year. But like you said, it rolls on in Vegas. The show goes on, and I think they're kind of well positioned for a postseason trip.
Yeah, I think Stone has to take some kind of smelling salts or something when he goes on the ice to perform to the level he does to score the points. But then it sort of has the side effect of him being out a few games afterwards. That kind of trend. I don't know. Um, right, second team in this division down the spot, the Anaheim Ducks, 41 points. I mean, again, joint on top with the Vegas Golden Knights, but again, another team with a 4-game away stretch that they've just played. They won the shootout against the Penguins 4-3, lost against the Islanders 5-2, and the Devils 4-1 before then beating the Rangers 4-1 themselves. So again, this is another team that really I think could be maybe pushing forward and doing a bit better. They shouldn't have lost it against the Devils in that game. I feel that was a really sort of disappointing performance for them. But yeah, Terry coming in with 3 goals and assist and decent-ish goaltending. They're a strong team, aren't they? They're going forward.
Yeah, they are, and really good to see Lucas Dostal back in the lineup as well. I know he was a big miss. Obviously, him and Mrazek went down at the same, kind of roughly around the same time, which I know was obviously a big blow for them to lose the pair of them. So they're kind of going with Dostal and Husso at the moment, doing well. I do really like this team, and again, road trips are not easy. And they've still come away with kind of with the 500 sort of win thing, winning percentage. It's really interesting though. Sort of as we go through this, we've seen so many teams on like extensive road trips this week. I'm like, has anyone actually like played at home? Or it certainly doesn't seem. It seems like literally like 30 of the teams have been on like a road stretch, and it's like, well, that obviously doesn't work. But yeah, weird one. I think my brain's just melted.
Anyway, gone to mush. Yeah. Yeah, I fancy the Ducks still continue to do well with the Golden Knights. I think these are the 2 top teams of this division, quite clearly. We'll move on to the third place team, 4 points behind on 37. The Los Angeles Kings on a -2 plus minus still, even when they're in the playoff position. I can't get my head around that, but they've played 3 out of 4 games this week away from home. They beat the Mammoth 4-2, 2 overtime losses in a row to the Kraken and the Flames before getting demolished by the Dallas Stars 4-1. So, yeah. One thing that stood out for me is Rantanen slightly bumped into Darcy Kemper in that game, and Kemper never returned, and people got all upset about it, but I don't really see how that hit was that bad.
No, I didn't think so. I didn't think so when I saw it. I thought it was a pretty sort of innocuous play. Obviously, Kemper left the game. People got upset about it, as people do when anyone breathes within a 2-foot radius of a goaltender. But well, hopefully it's hopefully it's kind of nothing serious, for their sake. But I thought it was a sort of a bit of a weird play at the time, actually. But they're a gritty team. All their games, barring that kind of one against the Stars, have all been quite close. A couple of OT losses. They kind of squeaked that win against the Mammoth. So again, kind of LA doing what LA do, and kind of playing that kind of gritty style of hockey, kind of low event sort of games, but it's getting them points on the board, which is all they'll care about.
Yeah. We'll go into the fourth team then, and I guess the team that's kind of making progress. They're in the same spot, but the points wise, they're still doing really rather well. The Edmonton Oilers now, 36 points. They've played 4 games this week. They lost against the Sabres in overtime 4-3. And they beat the Red Wings 4-1. The Maple Leafs 6-3, and then lost against the Canadiens 4-1. But I think what's big here is that the top three players for their scorers are racking them in. McDavid, 4 goals, 6 assists. Draisaitl, 6 assists. And Hyman with 5 goals. So, yeah, obviously we talked about their big trade, trading for Tristan Jarry. We talked about Bouchard already, having a shocker against the Sabres. Is there much else really to say about the Oilers, do you think, on your end?
No, McDavid's found that he's found that next gear, hasn't he? And I think that's coming just at the right time. 10 points in 4 games, like you do when you're Connor McDavid, and he's starting to get that chatter around the kind of Hart Trophy again. I still think that would be really harsh on Nathan MacKinnon, but I'm really kind of excited to see how it kind of goes head to head. Over the remainder of the season. But yeah, guy's a freak. They don't call him Jesus for nothing.
And he scored a goal against the Maple Leafs where he picked the puck up in sort of centre ice, and before anyone can blink, he's already at the goalkeeper, like deking around the goaltender and putting it in. That was so fast. Like you say, I don't know. I mean, some players just skate extremely fast, and he's obviously one of them, one of the best players in the league.
Easily.
Yeah. But yeah, easily. So, 5th place team in this division, staying put on 35 points, the San Jose Sharks. Again, still doing well. The Sharks are not dropping off just quite so much yet. They did lose against the Flyers 4-1, and then overtime wins against the Maple Leafs 3-2 and the Penguins 6-5. But yet another team where all their games are played on the road.
Yeah, no one's played at home. They're still been a good story this year. The Sharks, obviously, it was an amazing comeback victory against against the Penguins. A real shame for them for Will Smith to be going on injured reserve. That was a rough play. Good to see Celebrini sort of sticking up for his boy. But yeah, that will be a big loss for them, and hopefully doesn't kind of derail them too much. But Celebrini's still on 47 points in 33 games this year. He could very much top 100 points. I'm quite confident of that. And yeah, we'll just see how they keep going, and can they kind of keep the momentum pushing throughout throughout this period and into the remainder of the season. But kind of remains to be seen. I suppose it kind of brings a big sort of question about them if when we sort of roll around to trade deadline time. So I know they kind of brought in a lot of veterans over the summer, I think, kind of with the plan of bringing in these guys, giving them elevated roles, and then flipping them for picks and prospects. But we do see plans change on the fly. If they decide that they are still within a shout of a playoff spot, then they might keep them around.
Yeah. I like this team. I think I said it from the start. I think they're feel like harmless friends. They're developing their teeth, but they're not quite sharp yet. I think the Sharks.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Have you got anything more to say
brilliant
about them, or shall we move on?
No, I think you left it there perfectly.
6th place in this division, again staying put, is the Seattle Kraken with 30 points. This boring Seattle Kraken team. 4 games this week, and they played some at home, but they lost against the Wild 4-1, beat the Kings 3-2 in overtime, but they lost against the Mammoth 5-3 and the Sabres 3-1. Boring team, not going anywhere. Top scorers, I believe, with 19 points in 30 games. It's just meh.
Yeah, pretty much. They're kind of fading away into a little bit of obscurity, as we kind of thought that they might do. A bit of a nothing team, really. And even with some, they're still getting some decent goaltending. They had a 900 save percentage or better from in all of those games, but just goaltenders can't score goals. Well, very, very rarely score goals. They can't really generate offense that much, and they're an offensively weak team, without a doubt.
Yeah. But they are on the same amount of points now as the Calgary Flames, who do have a better plus-minus than them. Albeit they have played a few extra games, which is why Seattle are showing us ahead. So yeah, the Calgary Flames in 7th are seemingly turning it around a bit. They don't seem to be as bad as they were at the start of the year. They started the week with a 7-4 win against the Sabres, lost 4-3 against the Red Wings, but then beat the Kings in overtime 2-1. So the Calgary Flames are still playing themselves out of Gavin McKenna territory, I think.
Yeah, potentially. I still think that certainly when the when the trade deadline rolls around, obviously our last episode we spoke quite a lot about a lot of the trade candidates, and it certainly seems that Nazem Kadri and Rasmus Andersson are going to be two of the guys who are most likely to be traded. That is the two leading scorers on the team, which is kind of like amputating both your arms, and it's going to leave you sort of pretty difficult to function afterwards. So I think whilst they're going for it now and performing a little bit better, I think they do have one eye on on maximizing the value on the return for some of those guys. So I think they will sort of fall back down the standings later on, and I think it'll be I don't really have much more to say about Calgary, really. They're just kind of doing okay right now, but I still just think they're not going to be a good team for the rest of the year.
Yeah. For me, they're kind of one of the better versions of the worst teams, or at least one of the more interesting teams out of the worst teams at the bottom of the league. That's as much as you're going to get, I think, from the Flames this year.
Yeah.
But we shall then talk about our last team, the Vancouver Canucks. We've talked about them at length in the fact that they've traded away their best player. They have got some players back. Obviously, Rossi's now their first line centre. Boyum's now a top 4 defenseman for them, and Ogren's also playing straight away for them as well. But they lost against the Red Wings 4-0. They lost against the Sabres 3-2. They did beat the Devils 2-1 though. However, that leaves them bottom of this division and bottom of the NHL standings.
Yeah.
So yeah.
It does, and they do have Demko back in the lineup, so again that's good for them. They've traded their captain, they've traded their best player. I am looking forward to seeing how the likes of Rossi and Boyum can do there. But yeah, I think it's pretty miserable in Vancouver at the moment. You could see, you still could see the likes of Kiefer Sherwood maybe move out the door. I think they're going into full rebuild mode, I think.
I think so too. And it is going to be a pet project, not project, but a pet team of mine now, just with Marco Rossi playing for him. I want to keep half an eye on them and hopefully turn it around and become a serious team again. But not this year. This year, and probably not next year.
And just one final point on the Canucks as well before we kind of start to wrap things up a little bit. Obviously, they've traded their captain. Obviously, it's not mandatory for an NHL team to have a captain. You look down that lineup, I'm not seeing many sort of guys who you would think of as captain material in that lineup at all. Maybe someone like Filip Hronek, but yeah, there's a devoid lack of leaders, I think, in that Vancouver team. So yeah, I really don't think they're going to be in a rush to name a new captain anytime soon.
If Boyum gets his foot down and develops, I could see him maybe. Obviously, he couldn't do that in Minnesota just due to the amount of leaders they have in that locker room. But I think as a young defenseman, I think that could be a role that could be suited to him. Maybe is it too early? I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. I'm just riffing.
Yeah.
Um,
Right,
but yeah,
let's do some
shall
stat
we close
summaries
it?
to wrap this up.
Yeah. So in terms of the week, the top point scorer is Connor McDavid with 10 points, followed by Tim Stützle with 9 and Nikita Kucherov with 8. With Zach Hyman and Dylan Gunther top goal scorers with 5. And there's a three-way split for the penalty box perspective award for penalty minutes. Goncalves, McMahon, Malio, all with 15 minutes, so about on par with what we've been seeing. But then leading on into the season, the top points at the moment are McKinnon with 55, McDavid with 52, and Celebrini with 47. And when User Bedard's injury, this top three are probably going to run away with it a little bit in terms of the top point scorers. But top goals, McKinnon with 26, Geeky with 22, and would you look at that, Kirill Kaprizov tied with Jason Robertson with Dallas Stars with 20 goals. But yeah, our top two penalty box perspective of all the penalty minutes on the season, Mikko Rantanen with 67 and Nikita Zadorov with 66. I think they both only served 2 minutes in the box this week, but still enough to keep them out front.
Yeah, Rantanen's still a minute ahead, isn't he? And it's still weird seeing Rantanen kind of with the most penalty minutes in the league, but obviously he had that 1 week of just going absolutely crazy, and that's kind of boosted his numbers, I think.
Yeah, absolutely. Right. You want to sign us out, Matt, and we'll move on.
Yeah, absolutely. Right, as always, guys, you can find us on X and Instagram at the PBP Podcast. You can get in touch with us as well at penaltyboxperspective@gmail.com. We've got some exciting stuff in the pipeline here. We've got some interviews coming up, with some friends of the show, some new guys coming into the show. Definitely some stuff to keep your ears peeled for. We'll do our best to kind of keep you all updated on social media over the festive period. You know, the schedule may kind of fluctuate a little bit from the usual. Just in terms of when we release, just to make sure that, along with mine and Nathaniel's work and spending time with families and stuff, we do also want to try and, get some episodes out to you as well. In the spirit of the festive season, if you do want to give us a 5-star review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, be massively appreciated on our end. And you can also go and subscribe to the YouTube channel as well, where we do produce the audio podcast on there as well, so you can go and listen to it there. But yeah, no, thanks as always for being on the ride with us. A lot to unpack this week, but another good week of NHL hockey, and yeah, thanks for being with us as always, guys.
Yeah, take care, and we'll see you next time.